Hello YouTube, welcome back to my project. I have a couple of sections in this video. First I'll just take you for a tour of what I've done so far, and then I'll tell you some thoughts about how I'm going to construct the sessions, how we're going to handle the trains, and then I'll just do, at the end I'll do a bit of session preparation of adding some the rules and commands that we're going to use, etc., to get Trainz to do what I want them to do. So let's just have a look at what we've done here. This is the eastbound hump yard at North Platte. I've done added the terrain back to get the original nice DEM terrain, although there's not much here really. It's pretty flat, although there's a slight decline going from west to east, not very much though. I did all the grades, bit of a drama because it's so many tracks, and anybody who's done grades and trains, it's pretty easy when you're doing just one bit in a yard with a slight west to east downhill. It's to get everything to line up, it's pretty much a bit of a nightmare, but we got there in the end. A lot of pushing and shoving. There's a few ugly bits, hopefully you won't notice them. The hump yard here is all done. It's well, we haven't got the tower or anything else like that in yet. It's just the bridge. We'll work on the bridge there at some stage. Yeah, a couple of bad order tracks there over the hump, and then down into the, I think it's 62 or 64 tracks in the bowl. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to set up and run, so we'll get to that in a future session. Yeah, I've added just the odd bit of scenery. I don't want to run too much scenery because I want to run as many trains as possible, but we'll just add a little bit in. If it gets too much, we'll take it back out. Plus there's a few other little tricks we can use as well. These are just representative of the fuel racks that are there. I'd like to actually build the fuel racks there, but depends on how many pitches and whatnot, so I can get to make a reasonable sort of a job. But these will do in the meantime as a placeholder. These are just jointed rail stands that they have on their site there, so we'll just use those in the meantime. Been through and added the lights, signal lights, where they've got them on the map and where it says in the fog charts. You want to have a look at the fog charts, go to www.fogchart.com or .org I think it is, and you can pull the fog charts down there for North Platte, the Sydney sub and the Kearney sub. So yeah, we managed to get them to line up. I went through and put the mileposts in. That's a drama in itself, getting them into the exact right place. I added them all, and they were probably about quarter of a mile out, so I had to shift them all along just a little bit, but I think it lines up not too bad now. And this is all the mazer lights that we're going to have to make sense of to get trains in and out of the yard. But that's where they are in real life, so we'll where they are in real life, so we will make them work as per real life. Probably don't believe me, but we're gonna. Okay, yeah, we still got a few little ugly spots like this. I haven't worried about this in here. This is the westbound hump yard. I'll save this till we get the eastbound hump yard going, and if there's enough interest I'll do a tutorial on how to set up the hump yard to make a a working, fully operational hump yard, so we'll see what happens then. Westbound receiving and departure yards. We haven't added the grades to this and placed the bridge in yet, but we won't worry about that for the moment. And this is heading west out of North Platte now. Another sets of lights and terrain. Okay, something else that we've added, I'll show you here. Okay, well, this is just a small fiddle type yard that I have coming in from the portals. This is coming off out of the Powder River Basin. The portals are up here, so a train going out of the Powder River Basin on the portal there will turn around and appear on this one and to continue its journey to the power plants, wherever its destination is. A long length of track here, because it's not good to have junctions when you're coming out of the portal. I actually found out why. Anyway, yeah, so here we have just a fiddle yard, a couple of storage tracks if I'm having problems further on down in the map and I'm about ready to tear my hair out. I'll just throw a variable and the trains will stack up on these two right hand tracks here, so they'll just automatically go into these two tracks and stop. The same the opposite way. If I'm perhaps swapping out the Powder River Basin map for an updated map, or for some reason I want to just hold the trains here, there's 5 storage tracks here that I can just hold the trains before they go onto that Powder River Basin map. So this is just a small fiddle yard just to help if I need to. I don't like to use them, usually it's just a run through. Trains will always just run through without anything, but the capacity's there to help if I screw up somewhere, because with my sessions I don't want to stop at all. They're just continuous sessions that go forever. It's the never-ending game. Railroad problems, sort them out. The only problems I don't want is bugs and stuff like that, but then we're going to have to live with some of those anyway. This is where we switch to go to Gerald Gentleman Power Plant. Haven't done any work down there. Anyway, we'll just hop across here to... This is the overland route. This too goes out to the same... This goes out to the same fiddle yard type of thing for coming out of the portals from Cheyenne, Green River. Same setup. You got the storage tracks here, then the storage tracks heading out. It's the same on every map that I have, is just that same setup, just to give me a bit of flexibility. Now the only trouble is way down the other end of the map. This is down, well, stand by. This is down at the east end. I've had to butcher, this is the normal fiddle yard here, but I've had to, because it's 3 tracks, because it's triple track main, obviously right hand running, it's all right hand running. You're going to have obviously outbound trains on this track here, inbound trains on this track here. But the middle track has both inbound and outbound trains. So consequently you have to have this kind of setup to achieve that same same thing. Although thinking about it in the last few days, I kind of think that this may not be necessary. Well, it's done, so we'll leave it in place, but may not be necessary, because my thinking at the moment is that, okay, all eastbound trains will run out on this track, and they'll swap later on to get onto the correct tracks to go where they want at Gibbon, stuff for Chicago and stuff for Kansas City, and these two tracks here will probably both be inbound tracks, because I expect things will stack up a bit going into the yards, waiting for trains to do what they have to do, with the intermodal stuff going into the block swapping yard perhaps, and then the carload traffic and whatnots into the arrival yards. I don't know, we'll see how it works out, but that's just kind of my thoughts at the moment. Put all the crossovers in where they're supposed to be, so we'll set those up and run like they should. We've got a new data center here for identifying the cars coming in, plus defect detectors over the bridge. Haven't entered the bridge yet, and into North Platte Yard. See, these two here will probably be outbound tracks, and these two are the two inbound, so after here it gets messy, but we'll sort it, you'll see, I promise. I don't plan to add any more textures to the baseboards. This is it. Except perhaps the westbound hump, but yeah, that's basically it. So there we have it. This is the first piece of the sessions that I'm going to set up, is going to be the westbound trains hitting the refueling racks. So that's what the first part of the session setup's going to be. So okay, just some thoughts now about how I'm going to develop the first part of these sessions, just so you can understand a bit of the principles and some of the problems, or the way I see it working after long hours of track laying and sorting stuff, of developing ideas on how they operate the yard. I've seen a few YouTube videos, some good YouTube videos on operations there at Bailey Yard, so it's given a bit of a handle as to what's going on. So basically we have two lots of traffic entering. You've got it's all right hand running, obviously, so right hand westbound, right hand eastbound, the other track. Same for both Powder River Basin and the Overland route, so or the South Morrill sub and the Sydney sub. So trains coming in, dispatchers are going to like we'll be adding kind of like a dispatcher AI on top of the usual train AI. I don't drive any trains here. The trains will all be AI. The AI have been tamed. They will do exactly what I tell them to do, or what the AI dispatching type stuff will do over the top of it. Will make them do what they're supposed to do. But anyway, the principle is that you've got inbound trains on this track here and this track here, and depending on where they're going, their ultimate destination as to which track they eventually got to be sorted onto. Down at Bailey Yard, the refueling racks have got two distinct portions. One comes off this track, one comes off this track. So you have, I think it's 4 off this one and 4 off this one. I can't remember, there's 7 or 8. So depending on where the train is ultimately going, whether it's going to go to Omaha, Chicago, or whether it's going to go turn off at Gibbon, we're talking past North Platte here, whether it's going to turn right at Gibbon and go down the spine line to Kansas City, as to which of these refueling racks you want them to go onto. Obviously the stuff going to Kansas City and the like, you'll want onto this track here. The stuff for Chicago, ultimately you want to get onto this track here. Now the problem is that you've got stuff coming out of the yard as well on this track and this track. So what we want to do is put, like, you've got two options to put the trains onto the right track before they go into the fueling racks, or you also have another option to put them onto the right tracks after the refueling racks. So right from the start, we'll try and put them onto the correct tracks for where they're going. Obviously manifest traffic coming down will always be on the right hand track here, because that's where the eastbound receiving yard is for the manifest trains. So so take for instance a coal train coming off the Powder River Basin here, going to Kansas City, say to Labadie or somewhere like that, the power plant at East St. Louis. You're going to want to shift them to the right hand side, is where he eventually wants to end up to turn off at Gibbon. So to start off, we'll try and switch him to the right hand track here before we get down to the refueling racks. But if it's not possible because of trains coming out of heading west out of North Platte, we will do it later. So you don't want to hold up the flow of traffic just to have a 5 or 10 minute wait just for a train to clear. You want to keep things rolling, because hopefully I can make this as intense and as full on as what the real McCoy is. So that's we have plenty of options here to switch and change over. So using a few tricks that I'll show you, we'll attempt to, here we are, this is to make them do what we want to do. Now this is the two tracks that split into, or the two lots of going to the fuel racks here. We have one set of tracks here and one set of tracks there. You turn around and have a look. Those two tracks there run all the way up to where we were. So yes, we have a run through track here on the left. Actually, it looks like I have to add another set of racks there. I'll check that out. So that's basically what we're going to do. And then coming out, I want to have bad ordered cars. Like, these are inspection tracks where they inspect the trains, and if there's cars that are bad ordered that for whatever reason, just to be totally inconvenient, I use a dice system that I'll throw the dice and see how many bad ordered cars there are in the consist, and they'll be brought down here, and as the train leaves we'll cut them out to go to the shop. So we don't want to make it nice and easy, we want to make it hard, and we want to make it so that it fouls up the system. So that's what we'll be looking at. So we're going to cause hold-ups and delays, so it's going to cause snarl-ups. That's the kind of railroad problems I'm kind of after, to work through that. Yeah, and we'll continue swapping the trains onto the right tracks, as I said, to go to Gibbon and to go to Chicago. But unfortunately we're all going to be down to single track here, aren't we? So it gets all a bit pointless, doesn't it? As we have, as I was saying before, I think we have 2 inbound tracks. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. If there's a North Platte dispatcher out there, give me a holler, will you? Yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is just do a little bit of session preparation, just to add and set up the rules to what my preferences here. So, okay, basically we want DCC mode because I'm not driving any trains. We don't want the quick drive rule. Starting up on entry, so we get a nice clean. We don't want to clean up derailed trains, because if there is one, I want to see where it is. So we'll get rid of that. This driver command here has a bug in it, so we'll delete this. That's the default one, so just delete that one out, and we'll add my own one. Where are we? There we are. Driver command fixed. That's what we want here. Okay, now we'll add the rest of the rules that I want to use. Okay, control junctions setup startup rule. What that one does is it in a save session, all the junctions that have been set by a train are saved in here, so they're reset on startup of the save session. So that's a bit of a must, otherwise we'll be having derailments at the startup of a saved session. So save session's a big time. So now what else do we want here? Should have gone through and refreshed the brain, eh? We want maximum permitted speed. We don't want everything travelling at the same speed. We want them going at their proper speed, so it causes all sorts of problems. A couple of input tables here. I'll explain what these are another day, but I usually add a couple of those. I want them later on. We want to run the message console. That's just mostly for debugging messages, and I have a few of my excuse me, I have a few of my commands set up that if they pack a major error, they'll show in this here. So Quick Portal Manager 2, version 2 is the one we use. HUD Manager to get the nice HUD on that comes up on the side with all the information I want. There's also another one here. Quick session bars, that's another one we want, and that displays a lot of extra information I want to have about each train so I can see it in the HUD. Schedule library, must have that, biggest must on the planet. This is where all the routines that I use will be stored. So like, train comes in at from the overland route, it'll have overland to refueling racks, or overland to eastbound arrival, stuff like that. So you just pick out which one you want, and then its routine will be all stored in here. And I think that's about it. I think that's all we use in our rules. I have some other rules for the setting up the hump yard, but we won't worry about that now. We'll set up all those at another time. Yep, I think that's basically it. Okay, now driver commands. We'll go through these and give you a quick explanation of the driver commands I'll be using. The auto drive command, don't use that anymore. Actually, no, that's a lie. These things are slow. What's going on? This is so sticky. Auto drive past junction, yes. Auto drive via industry, we want that. That one with a black dot there is a bad one. We don't want to use it. We'll use that one. Change variables. I run a lot of variables that control the train, so this changes the value of them. Change direction, we want that. Actually, we don't want that one. We want that one. We're up to version 7. Control junctions, a must. Copy commands, we don't use that. We don't use couple. We use couple ahead. Crew vans, I'm not running those. It's a setup I had a while back. Looked quite cool, but it just takes too long to set up. Decouple DLX, yep, that just decouples the train at a particular thing and makes the consist physics disable, so we can save a little bit of processing power. Decouple the front locos, that's what we want there. Driver alerts, so trains can send me a message when they've done what they have done or need a bit of attention. Don't use any of the drive via or to track marks. I do not like them. I stay away from them like the plague. A lot of people use them, and they set their own paths and stuff like that, you end up with all sorts of horrendous problems. We do not want that. We'll be setting up all our own paths so that Trainz will do definite maneuvers. So, yep. Enable physics. Whenever a train's not moving, I always disable the physics so it cuts down the load on the computer. This here is enable menus. This is proved to be a very much a must for the kind of operations that I run. There is so much stuff in the menus for setting up the session that it slows the response of it down something terrible. So the driver commands I'm not using, I've set them up so that you can just click a little tag in here that will disable them so they don't display on the menu. When you want to use them, you go in here and take for instance this auto drive past junction. It goes through and gets every junction on the map here, on the route on the map here, and it displays it in its thing. Well, it takes such a long time to build that menu, and you get several rules doing that, several commands doing that at the same time, and it becomes just a bogged nightmare. So when I'm not using this, like it can be several weeks when I don't use it, you just switch it off so it doesn't take time to build those menus. So yeah, that's that. Instant load, it's a bit of a special one there. Layer control. Okay, what that is the scenery you see here is over time I will add more scenery, but these are placed in a scenery layer here. Oh, you can't open it, but anyway, there's I think it's 5 scenery layers, and what this does is just if the frame rate's really good, I'll set it at 5, which displays all the scenery. If it's starting to bog down and starting to clog, I'll just drop the scenery layers down to what's comfortable to get a good frame rate. So this is done with the driver command, so it can be done in runtime and while the game's playing. You know, it's not done at setup. You know, so if we have a lot of trains, it's bogged down. You just chop it down and it'll cut the scenery out, and hopefully on other maps it helps. This one, I have my doubts. Powder River Basin, it'll be good. Okay, we want to be able to control the loco doors. We want to be able to put drivers in and out of the train. Setup at the start. Maintenance away, used to run this used to be quite good, but yeah, it's kind of obsolete system now. My navigate commands, I had it for that enable menu thing. So, but as I said, I don't like them, and I stay away from them like the plague now. I won't even enter them in the thing. Power settings, I don't use I don't let the trains run their own smoke and sound. I have my own settings in my locomotives where I will set the power settings myself. The reason being is you might have, let's say you have a 19,000 ton coal train on a 2% grade. Well, Trainz AI default will go up that 2% grade on idle once it's up to its speed, you know, and with the power settings on tootling along on idle, and it looks absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. So what I've done is made my own power settings so that, okay, you might be down to 10 mile an hour on a 2% grade with a heavy train, and you want to have absolute engines on full power, so you're getting full power sound and lots of smoke, and the fans all going at 10 or 12 mile an hour. And these here are the speed boards that here on the right here that enable that kind of behaviour as well. Okay, this is really flat. This is only 0.3% grade. It's hardly anything, but it's the principle. This is basically relates. The profile relates to the weight of the train and the number of locomotives it's got. So if you have a 1,000 ton train, it'll go at max speed. You have a 12,000 ton train with 3 locomotives on it, on this 0.3% grade, it will do, where are we, what did I say, 12, it'll do 65. So every train doesn't do the same. Nothing's worse than seeing a heavy train on a grade just idling up the hill at mainline speed. To me, it just looks ridiculous. So that's what that's related to. Okay, we want to remove the driver from the train. We want to be able to remove the train. Okay, this is a special runaround train. Don't want to change that. DCC throttle, we want that for the decoupling. Don't want to set because that's going to bug in it. Don't want to do that. Set signal states. Hold on, that's extended. We don't want that one. We've got that one there. Those don't work. Set train variable. Okay, my trains have the script in them has a whole lot of variables, so as each train carries their own sets of variables that change their behaviour to destination they're going, and whether they're taking note of triggers and its priority, its profile, its speed profile. There's a whole, I think there's 30 variables to each train. Each train carries its 30 variables, so we use all of them for one thing and another to get proper train handling. So explain all of those one day if you guys are interested. Okay, skip of signal. If a signal's a particular colour in front of it, it'll skip to a different part of its commands. This here is a skip. If a variable in its thing, if a variable is a particular value, it'll skip to a different part of its commands, its driver commands along the bottom here. You'll see with my drivers, they'll have a whole lines of commands that go forever on here that make them do what you want. Skip of track mark occupied. Don't use track marks anymore. Skip of trigger unoccupied. We use triggers now, so don't use that. Standard basic default skip to label when you've finished a set of commands. Special instructions, just a whole lot of really weird driver commands in there. Stack dump, don't want that. Okay, we'll just run one of these. We'll run both. These are just driver commands to put up the doors and down the doors on when we do that, like I said, so I'll put them in now. Wait for random. Don't run, used to, but don't really run them now. Wait for not read. And wait until a variable reaches a certain value before the commands continue, so we'll run that as well. So those were basically all the commands. Actually, we do want that one. Most definitely. Set train bars, yep. Okay, that looks like that. So that's basically how I prepare for making my sessions. The sessions are designed to be like people run their session and it's for a single train to do a single task. The session that I'm going to set up here is going to be a never-ending session. It'll go forever and ever. Trains you'll set them a task to say to come in and go to the fuel racks or go to the eastbound arriving yard, and the locos will decouple. They'll go to the loco yards for service. It'll all be automatic. Train will come along, hook up and put it over the hump. It'll be all automatic, so that it will react to every other train on the map. If there's a conflict, they will do design just to keep going and react to everything. It's not just a specific situation that sessions are normally built for. This session will be built to handle any situation that arrives, so it never ends. So it takes a bit to set up and it takes a bit to debug, but this will be a bit more of a complicated one than I usually do, so hopefully we will get there. So the first one that we're going to set up is for westbound trains to hit these refueling racks. So that'll be the next update for North Platte. Rightio, thanks guys. Hope it didn't bore you too bad. Cheers.